Director of Community Development, Stephanie DeWolfe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Today at the Budget Fair, we're going to see a lot of different projects and hear a lot about long-term plans. What in your department are you most looking forward to that you think the community should know about?
Well, actually, we have a number of long-term planning initiatives that are in process right now, and I'd be glad to tell you about a couple of them. They're actually sort of scattered all over the community. The first one that people might be familiar with is the East Side Working Group. So there's a lot of talk about what's happening on the East Side, and the city's recently put together an East Side Working Group made up of residents and business owners on the East Side, and they'll be coming together starting next week actually to put together a community plan which will look at everything from land use, economic development, social services, public safety, all issues that the community members have brought to our attention, and we'll really pull those together into a long-range plan. There's also a plan on the west side of town, the area referred to as the Design District, and Council recently adopted a preliminary version of that plan, and we're still working through some details that will really provide some street enhancements and some very visual improvements to the Design District on that side of town. Also up on the Sunset Strip, we've got a study going on billboards and how can we make billboards in our community more creative and more interesting and really draw people back to that part of town. So those are just a couple. There's many more going on, but we have a lot of long-range things going on right now.
Can you tell me a little bit about what your department does?
We look at any kind of development that goes on private property. So we do everything from the general plan, which sets the blueprint for future growth in the city, all the way through to specific plans, community plans, the zoning code. So we review every development that comes into the city, and we carry it all the way through the building and safety process of making sure it complies with the building code, and then we issue the permits in the end.
And how do you prioritize? I'm sure you see a lot of plans, a lot of projects. How do you figure out what's best for the quality of life for the resident?
It all comes back to the community. We spend a lot of time in conversation with the community, and that's really what all those long-term projects are about that I just mentioned. Those all involve extensive community participation programs, and the community sets our priorities. We respond to what we hear from the community, and those documents reflect what we hear in those community meetings, and then we take it forward through the Planning Commission and the City Council for their input as well. And ultimately, the council votes on it, and they tell us whether we've adequately represented the community voice.
And how do you get the community involved? How do you get them a part of the conversation and caring about what's going on in their backyard?
I'm glad you asked that question, because in the old days it used to be more of a one-way conversation. Cities would just send out an announcement and say, come to a meeting, and whoever showed up got their voice heard. But really today it's more about a two-way dialogue, and we're using a lot more creative tools to get more conversation going instead of just one way. So we still do a lot of meetings, but we do things online. We do a lot more interactive kind of things. In fact, recently we did a very new technology on the website which allowed people to go onto a map of the city and drop pins where they had issues or conversations. And then there was a Facebook sort of technology where people could comment on each other's comments. And so what we got was running threads for certain intersections and for certain streets. So that was related to the pedestrian and bike mobility plan, and that really told us a lot about where in the city people are comfortable walking and biking and where they aren't and why. So that new interactive technology really gave us a much better understanding of what we needed to do moving forward.
We're hearing a lot about technology tonight and using new ways to get the community engaged. We all have cell phones, we all have internet access now, and we're utilizing these things, and it's really exciting to hear about. What is most exciting to you? What are you most looking forward to?
Well, we love the idea that all of those tools can help people be more interactive with us. So as I said, we're not so interested anymore in just having one town hall meeting. We want people to give us feedback from wherever they are on the street, from their home. So the map I just told you about allowed people to be walking on their way to work in the morning, for example, and stop at a corner and log onto our map from their cell phone and say, this corner right here, it needs a bus bench, it needs a tree. So that technology allows us to reach out to people that maybe couldn't or wouldn't come to a traditional community town hall meeting. So we're getting much better feedback through all that technology.
Very comprehensive. And what in your department are you most proud of? What have you guys achieved over the past few years that you look back and think, that's really helped the community?
Well, I've actually been with the department just over a year now, and I know some tremendous work was done on the general plan right before I started, so that's a really important component for the community. That's really the blueprint for how we move forward. But what I'm most excited about moving forward from that point is building the plans that come off of that. So the general plan is very general, of course, but now we need to start looking at the more specific plans. So that's to say the east side, the west side, those are documents that really define the character of each one of those neighborhoods. And you generally have to start with the broad plan and then you build these more detailed plans. We're a fairly young community from a planning perspective. 30 years is not a long time to have built a general plan and all of the subsequent neighborhood and community plans. So it's very exciting to me that I'm here for this phase where we can start to build out the details of these communities based on what each community needs. And each one of those areas is very unique. It's certainly not a one-size-fits-all solution. So the east side will have a lot of fun working with the community to develop what do they need for that neighborhood, especially with all of the new residents coming into that area. And the west side has other issues. We'll work with them to develop the kind of things that they need for that neighborhood. And even Sunset Strip will be doing an update of the specific plan for that area, which also has a lot of opportunity and a lot of interesting things going on there. So it'll be fun to see those plans get developed.
Very exciting. Stephanie, thank you for joining us for a Fireside Chat.
Thank you so much.